And so Formula One returned to its most glamorous venue, the Principality of Monaco. For most of the year, Grand Prix racing works hard to attract the rich and famous to visit the tracks where it sets up camp. Once a year, however, the Grand Prix is brought to them. The pits are cramped, the difficulties of operating 27 race cars and their attendant crews in a space bounded on one side by a bustling town and on the other a bustling harbour are almost overwhelming, but still the race is the most important in the Formula One calendar. Not because it's the greatest test of the cars or the drivers, but because this is the one that those who sign the sponsors' cheques want to visit. A good weekend here, not necessarily on the track, can often ensure a budget for next year. Practice is always important, but this year, with 27 cars entered, it's even more crucial for the teams at the lower end of the Grand Prix pecking order. Because of the confined nature of the track, only 20 cars will be allowed to start, and the 7 slowest qualifiers will not get their sponsors' names in front of the biggest TV audience of the season. For the top teams, practice is important. For those with fewer resources, it is vital. As usual, Williams and Ligier do well. Pironi's best time is good enough for pole ahead of Reutemann, who just out-qualifies Jones. Piquet is next, followed by Lafitte, while Villeneuve is 6th in a Ferrari that has difficulty in fighting against the Cosworth-powered wing cars on high-speed circuits. On the twisting streets of the Principality, where speeds are lower and downforce is not as important, driving skill counts, and the little Canadian has plenty of that. Among those that don't qualify are Watson in the McLaren and Rosberg in the Fittipaldi. If they don't go home, maybe they'll watch from the balconies overlooking the Lowe's hairpin. Didier Pironi, however, will be working on Sunday afternoon. Monsieur Pironi's working day starts well as he leads Jones, Reutemann, Lafitte, Depailler and Piquet up the hill towards the heights of Monte Carlo. But behind the leading group, there's chaos on the Sainte-Devote corner. Scheckter, who started 15th, comes through ahead of Villeneuve, who was 6th. Behind the leading half-dozen cars, the whole pattern of the grid has changed. Derek Daly, starting from the 6th row of the grid in his Tyrrell, was too late on his brakes for the first corner. The over-enthusiastic Irishman ran over Giacomelli's Alfa and was thrown into the air. The flying Tyrrell took out teammate Jarier, Prost's McLaren and the Alfa. The only people left smiling were Italian electrical goods manufacturers Candy, the Tyrrell team's sponsors. These pictures were shown around the world. The budget was justified for all the wrong reasons. As the leaders were on their way past the harbour to start their second lap, the marshals worked to clear the debris from Sainte-Devote. Pironi was still ahead of the 2 Williams cars and Lafitte, and this was the order that was maintained, with Pironi fighting to stay ahead of Jones and Reutemann holding off Lafitte, Depailler and Piquet. It's notoriously difficult to overtake at Monaco, and the cars were so evenly matched that it would need something to break to change the order. And that's what happened. After 25 laps, Alan Jones came into the Williams pits. His race was over with a failed gearbox. A couple of laps after Jones retired, Scheckter was in, complaining about the performance of his tyres. All the hopes of the Williams team were now settled on Reutemann, who hadn't won a race for 2 years, back when he was with the Ferrari team. But now was his chance, for on lap 54 Pironi spun into retirement, the victim of a broken gearbox. Despite rain that fell late in the race, the Argentinian driver maintained his lead, and at the end of 76 laps he was over a minute ahead of Jacques Laffite, with Nelson Piquet driving a safe and steady race to third. As Carlos and his wife Mimicha were sharing the celebrations with Prince Rainier and Princess Grace, the Williams team could celebrate, despite the setback to Alan Jones' championship hopes.